Have you ever found yourself in a season of unimaginable pain and struggling to find hope in the midst of it? The story of Job speaks directly to the depths of human suffering and the incredible resilience of faith. It raises profound questions about justice, suffering, and divine purpose, compelling us to explore a narrative that isn't just ancient history but a living testimony of hope for today. As we embark on this journey through the book of Job, prepare to encounter the heart of a man tested beyond measure and the unwavering faith that ultimately shines through. The book of Job begins with a picture of a man who had it all. Job was blameless and upright, a man who feared God and shunned evil. Job 1 verse 1. His life was blessed with great wealth, a loving family, and a reputation for righteousness. But then, suddenly, everything unraveled. This tale offers a comforting truth: even the most devout among us can face profound trials. In an instant, Job lost his livestock, his servants, and worse still, his children, all in one cataclysmic event. Can you imagine standing at the edge of such devastating loss? How would you respond? The suddenness of tragedy can leave us reeling with questions. This is exactly what happened to Job. Stripped of his possessions and loved ones, he fell to the ground and worshipped. Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I shall return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Job 1 verse 21. This response is not merely a ritualistic act but a profound declaration of unwavering faith. Here we see that faith does not always shield us from suffering, rather, it sustains us within it. One of the powerful themes in Job's story is the nature of grief. Job didn't immediately understand the reasons behind his suffering, and neither do we sometimes. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where the why seemed out of reach? Job's lament is a reminder that God can handle our questions and doubts. He invites us to bring all our pain to Him, in honesty and vulnerability. As you think about this, remember Job's friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, who arrived to comfort him. They, too, grappled with answers. Their flawed responses, rooted in a belief that suffering is a direct punishment for sin, reveal a common misconception that still lingers today. As we delve deeper into the dialogues between Job and his friends, notice the contrast between their opinions and Job's steadfastness. Often, we lean toward simplistic explanations for complex situations, believing that if we do right, we will be spared pain. Yet Job argues for an understanding of God that transcends the boundaries of human reasoning. His friends, well-meaning but misguided, urged him to confess presumed sins, yet there was no hidden guilt to be uncovered. This brings us to an insightful moment in the narrative. Job questions the fairness of life, boldly responding, "Why do the wicked live on, growing old and increasing in power?" Job 21 verse 7. Could it be that human suffering is not always about divine punishment? This perspective challenges us to think deeply about the nature of righteousness and justice. If suffering equated to sin, we might dismiss the very essence of grace that makes our relationship with our Creator possible. As Job continues his lament, we encounter a profound turning point in the story. After days of silence, Job's friends bombard him with their theological explanations, yet their words only exacerbate his pain. How often do we find ourselves in situations where the well-meaning words of others, while intended to comfort, instead deepen our sense of isolation? Job's unwavering appeal to God amidst pain teaches us that sometimes, our most honest conversations with God arise out of despair. At the heart of Job's struggle is this plea for understanding. "If only I knew where I might find Him," Job cries, longing for a direct encounter with God. Job 23 verse 3. Have you ever felt distant from God during your trials? In those moments, it's critical to remember that God doesn't shy away from our longing. The Lord longs to be found, even when we feel forsaken. Job's determination to seek God becomes a thread of hope woven throughout his narrative. Let's pause for a moment to consider something remarkable. Notice that Job maintains a desire for dialogue with God, rather than retreating into despair or bitterness. This longing illustrates the dual nature of his struggle. he feels abandoned yet refuses to abandon his faith. Despite the torment of his circumstances, he clings to the belief that God is still sovereign and just. In moments of deep pain, it can be a challenge to hold on to hope. Job exemplifies that even in bewilderment, our faith remains a powerful anchor. In a fascinating twist, God finally speaks to Job out of the whirlwind in chapter 38. Instead of providing direct answers to Job's questions, God challenges him with questions of his own. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me, if you understand. Job 38 verse 4. Here lies a profound truth: the presence of suffering does not negate God's sovereignty. God invites Job, and us, to consider the grand narrative of creation, his authority, and the limitations of human understanding. These divine inquiries serve to remind us that our perspectives are limited. God does not owe us explanations; instead, he offers relationship and presence in our struggles. God's omniscience is contrasted with our human frailty, illuminating that his plan often unfolds beyond our immediate understanding. How might this insight change the way we approach suffering in our own lives? As the narrative unfolds, we come to a deeply moving moment of repentance. Job responds to God's questions not with defiance, but humility, stating, "I know that you can do all things. No purpose of yours can be thwarted." Job 42 verse 2. This moment of recognition is fundamental to the journey. True healing often begins with acknowledging both our pain and God's majesty. Job's heart is laid bare, revealing a profound shift from questioning God's justice to surrendering to his wisdom. With this surrender comes the restoration of all that Job had lost. God blesses him with double the prosperity he had before, granting him new children and a prosperous life. This conclusion begs the question: does restoration always follow suffering? While Job's narrative concludes with a material blessing, it's essential to recognize that hope does not always equate to tangible rewards. Sometimes, restoration manifests not in possessions but in deeper intimacy with God and a profound understanding of grace. As we reflect on Job's journey, consider your own life. How might God be inviting you into deeper faith through your trials? What does it mean to hope even when circumstances seem bleak? The story of Job ultimately offers profound hope and encouragement. It's okay to lament, to question, and to wrestle with doubts. Yet it also calls us to look up and recognize the God who remains faithful through every storm. In closing, let us remember the key insights from Job's story: that suffering does not negate God's presence, and that faith can flourish even in the most challenging of circumstances. Job's journey challenges us to redefine what it means to hope. Just as Job encountered God not in answers, but in his presence, we, too, are invited into a relationship that transcends our understanding. As you navigate your own path through pain and hope, remember, your struggles do not disqualify you from God's love or his plan. The God who spoke to Job speaks to you, inviting you to step forward in faith, even amidst uncertainty. Take heart, for the story of Job is not just a story of loss, but a testament to the unyielding hope that exists when we trust in God's ultimate goodness. Embrace this journey, for true hope is found in knowing that the God we serve is intimately acquainted with our sorrows, capable of bringing forth beauty from ashes.